Breaking news, there's been a shooting at an El Paso, Texas VA clinic. Details are sketchy at this moment. Here's what we know, though. Multiple law enforcement officials are telling us that 2 people were wounded as the facility was in lockdown for hours. Now, the extent of their injuries at this time, we don't know. But the shooter then reportedly turned the gun on himself. We don't know whether he successfully killed himself or was injured. We're going to have more on this story, though. We are awaiting a press conference that could begin at any time. As that happens, of course, we're going to update you on everything we're able to find out on this developing breaking story. Our other breaking news is authorities in Baltimore are now warning police to be on alert for possible attacks after a gang member allegedly brought a loaded handgun into a police station. That warning comes after another 2 New York City police officers were shot overnight. 3 men, after a manhunt, are now in custody for that. And we are learning new details about the moments that led up to that shooting. Police say that the surveillance video that I'm going to show you right now shows a gunman robbing a grocery store, as you see, but just before he allegedly opened fire, injuring these 2 officers.
Fired. What is your entry belt? What is your entry belt? There's a white Chevy Camaro going northbound. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Miguel Marquez is out front. Miguel, what more are you learning about the shooting and the officer's condition?
Well, the officers are doing okay. One of them was shot in the arm and the chest, the other one in the arm and the back, and they are in stable condition and expected to make a full recovery, luckily enough. One of the questions is whether or not they were wearing their protective vest because they were off duty when they responded to this thing. The chief of police here, the police commissioner here in New York, talked about where exactly these police officers were when they heard about this robbery in progress.
Those officers last evening were ending their chore duty, were in fact beginning to change out of their clothes when a call came in about a robbery, and they immediately, all 5, ran out of the station, got into a police vehicle, and began to canvass the area in the vicinity of the robbery location.
Now, the officer got off 3 shots. One of the individuals was hit in the leg. He later checked into a hospital with some bogus claim. The police were able to get onto him very quickly, and his claim unraveled. He led them to somebody else, who then led them to the 3rd person. So 3 people were picked up, 2 arrested. The other one remains in custody. Very, very important to note, though, that this was not a targeted killing. These were officers who were getting off work, heard about a robbery, and then responded. Aaron?
All right, Miguel, thank you so much. And out front tonight, Republican Senator Rand Paul. Senator, thank you so much for being with us. Police across the country on a state of alert, as you hear. 2 more New York City police officers have been shot after the shooting death of an unarmed black man in Ferguson, Missouri. You were the only 2016 hopeful to meet with black leaders in Ferguson. You were lauded for doing so by the NAACP. You have criticized the quote, militarization of our law enforcement, and you wrote that there is, again, quoting you, a systemic problem with today's law enforcement. Are you concerned that statements like that may now be being used by people to justify shooting and killing police?
Well, you know, there's absolutely no justification for killing our police. My heart goes out to their families. I think that our police do, by and large, an excellent job. They're like the rest of the public. 98, 99% of them are doing a great job. They're out every day risking their lives. And so I think they're just separate issues. I do think that there is an unease in our country, though. The violent people are an aberration. The violent people killing cops and things like that, which is awful. That's an aberration, but there's a lot of also just peaceful people out there that they feel unhappy and feel like that justice is not colorblind. You know, Martin Luther King talked about there being 2 Americas. There still are people who feel like they're poor, they're unemployed, and that everywhere they turn, there's a civil fine for this or a civil fine for that. In fact, I said repeatedly in New York, I blame the politicians. So the same way the police are unhappy with de Blasio, I'm unhappy with de Blasio also, because he was the one telling the police to get involved with people selling cigarettes that were not taxed properly.
And let me ask you, because when you talk about being unhappy with the politicians, including Mayor de Blasio, of course, the mayor of New York, the biggest city in this nation, there's a tremendous amount of tension between him and his police force, which is also the largest force in this country. Officers turned their backs on the mayor when he attended the funerals for the 2 officers that were killed in December, an unprecedented act. Even though they were asked not to do so, they felt so passionately they did it anyway. And this tension traces back to a very specific remark by the mayor speaking about his son, who is biracial. Here's Mayor de Blasio.
We've had to literally train them, as families have all over this city for decades, in how to take special care in any encounter he has with the police officers who are there to protect him.
And no doubt he spoke from the heart as a father, but you're a possible presidential candidate, a leader in America. Is the mayor of New York showing proper leadership by talking like that?
Well, I think he mistakes cause and effect here. I've said over and over again that there is a racial outcome to the war on drugs. But I've also said over and over again, I don't think the police are targeting black kids. What I say is that the war on drugs has led the over-enforcement in certain communities. So, for example, white kids are using illegal drugs, so are black kids. I don't think that the police said, oh, let's go arrest black kids. I think because of where people live and where crime occurs, that there have been a disproportionate amount of black kids arrested. So I understand the sentiment of people in the African-American community who feel like justice is not colorblind. But I don't blame the police officer for saying, oh, the police officer's targeting them. I blame the politicians for writing these laws such that we've gone overboard with nonviolent crime.
And today, Senator, is the first day of the 114th Congress. Your party, the GOP, now has control of both houses on Capitol Hill for the first time in nearly a decade. It's a big moment. John Boehner just got elected to Speaker for the third time. He did have a lot of opposition, though, twice as much as he did the last time. You even received a vote, even though you're not in the House. My question for you is, obviously he's an important leader for your party. Is he the right choice?
I mean, it's not really my job to choose the Speaker of the House, although, you realize by getting one vote, I was only 217 votes short of being the Speaker of the House. And so that is an interesting wrinkle. But no, I think that it is most important what we do now that we are in charge. And I think there's some unhappiness, obviously. But the thing is the only way we're going to move forward and do something is to actually put bills on the desk of the president. I'm for using the power of the purse. And I think most conservatives that were unhappy in the House want to use the power of the purse. We now do have the power of the purse in both the House and the Senate. So I'm for attaching hundreds, if not thousands, of rules on how the money can be spent. And by what I mean by rules is that's how you try to fix waste and fraud.
According to our latest CNN poll, it's pretty sad. Only 28% of Americans think Republicans will run the Senate better than Democrats. Look, they a lot of them think there'll be no difference. They just don't like any of you guys. All right, Time Magazine today, though, has you listed as one of its 10 members of Congress to watch in 2015. You are one of the people in charge. How are you going to prove the American public and the world, frankly, who have just completely given up on Capitol Hill in the United States, wrong?
Proof will be in the pudding. So what I will say to the American people is watch what we do. If Republicans will pass all 12 appropriation bills and try to slow down the accumulation of debt in our country by controlling waste and fraud, then we will have done our duty. So the proof will be how do we act and what can we do over the next year.
All right, Senator, always good to talk to you. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.